Good evening, everyone. Welcome back to Gulag Café. Chris and I are both enjoying a vacation, so tonight's stream is very low effort fun, but we missed each other, we missed streaming, and we know you guys miss us, and we know all of you love dunking on James Lindsay. So we know you all had fun the last time we did that, and Chris and I have had a wonderful last couple weeks, and so we thought we'd just have a fun stream tonight, kicking back, having a good old time, and laughing at some internet lolcows. So hopefully you guys can all enjoy us for that. As you saw in the intro, you can support this lovely channel and get your name in that intro graphic there by Lomax Designs. During the course of the stream, I have my phone on. So if you want to shower us with some of your wealth, we would both deeply appreciate that. You can send in, I prefer paid chats on Entropy. You can also send in paid chats on Cash App and PayPal, as well as tips over on Subscribestar and Hyper Chats on Odyssey. And remember, Chris and I split this 50-50. So all the money that you contribute to me also goes to him. So with that being said, take it away, Chris.
Yes, good evening, Tovarishi, and be welcoming to another episode of Gulag Café. I am currently on secret mission deep behind enemy lines in capitalist US of A, and I must say I hate it very, very much. All these white people walking around happy with freedom and fundamental human rights. I have been reliably informed there are such things as jobs and shops and actual white people things going on. I hate it very much. Fortunately, of course.
And we all know, comrade, entrepreneurship is one-way street to decrepit capitalism.
Correct. Fortunately, I'm on secret mission with many NGOs to try and undermine your horrible country and make it much more like UKSSR, which I just cannot wait to go back to. I miss diversity. I miss ash pierogies. I miss eating the bugs, living in the pod. Of course, I have very special pod because commissars get the best pods. So be warned, America. Your horrible capitalist and freedom will soon be, destroyed by might of UKSR as soon as we can repair that one warplane that we have in warehouse out back. I am on to Dimitri to make sure that this gets fixed, but apparently has informed me that Nagubo and Sakdeep are currently taking day off for religious diversity reasons, which of course is absolutely appropriate. So please, sit back.
Except for Christians.
Sit back. Real Christianity is not their religion. Of course, Christianity is capitalist pig dog white people religion, and we do not allow.
Good times.
Yeah, good times. Right,
so Chris,
tonight,
candidly here, let's talk about it. You've been to Tennessee. You've seen a lot of the sites in the major cities here.
Yep.
You've seen a few other places I won't mention to keep other people private.
Yep.
And you're in a different place in the United States now, over in a much different part of the country.
Mm-hmm.
Compared to Australia and to London, tell us your experiences about how they've differed, what you've experienced here.
Well, I haven't been to Australia for like 20 years now, but I hear it's pretty bad.
Oh, I thought you just moved away that long ago. I didn't know you hadn't visited.
In terms of London, man, it's literally like a different universe. Like oh my God, I don't want to go back. Like, holy crap, man. Like, people, as amazing as this sounds, people here speak English. It's truly amazing. But just also, right, like there's just all these like happy white people doing like white people things.
Yeah.
Like playing Magic the Gathering and,
like we have gaming stores where like 50 of us get together and play BattleTech and D&D and yeah. Warhammer. It's great.
And you can go out and like shoot guns, which I'm a big fan of, obviously, right? I'm a big fan of the gun culture here. It's just amazing. I try and explain to like Americans, like, because I'll meet people and they'll be like, oh, where you're from? I'll be like, oh, London. They're like, oh, I'd love to visit London. I'm just like, no.
No, you don't.
You really
the London you think you want to visit hasn't existed for 20 years.
Exactly. Yeah. It doesn't exist anymore, right? Like, unless you've got like the wealth of an Arab oil sheikh and you can like, spend the entire time in Kensington or somewhere. And even that's starting to get like encroached on now. I've been reliably informed the homeless camps are beginning to like set up in the rich areas now.
What about like the food and amenities? Have you been enjoying that here?
Man, I'll tell you, the food is pretty fucking good.
Yeah.
I was a big fan of black chicken in Nashville.
Mhm.
Uh, there's this place called Hattie B's that someone recommended to me. And
Did you have you some good old Southern sausage gravy and biscuits? What you would call a scone?
I I did. I did. I had those before. Yeah, the food is amazing. It's like really good.
Did you
Everything
get you Did you get
and
you a
I just
country
don't.
fried steak? I told you to get a country fried steak. Did you get
I
one?
still haven't had a chicken fried steak. If yeah, I'll put that on my
Country
list.
fried or chicken fried, same thing. But
Right,
I'll
right.
when you come visit Tennessee again, maybe later this fall, I'll get you a good one.
Look, the food is good. The cars are really big. I mean, that's the other thing, right? Like everyone's driving these like land tank cars. And none of the Americans that I talk to can believe what I'm saying about what's going down in the UK, right? Particularly all the speech crime stuff and, how like many people just sort of live in fear of, getting dragged off for like saying something. I have been reliably informed, by the way, that I cannot actually commit a UK speech crime whilst on US soil because the jurisdictions don't apply. So that's awesome. Much like
wow.
I do a bit of a reverse George Floyd every time I come here. I can finally breathe. The knee comes off the neck, and the communist fentanyl drains out of my system, and I'm just like, oh, it's just lovely here, right? Like, look, granted, I know not all of America is the same.
Like a good old
never
timey
been back to Manchester.
bloodletting. You're dripping the communism out.
But yeah, it's beautiful. It's really it's like going back to the 90s, like for real. Right? Like before all of this like shit happened, like before the revolution. There are places in the US it seems like the revolution has like barely touched, right? Like you'll see like some, you'll see like the occasional pride flag and stuff like that. But most of the people,
Not where I live.
The good old boys, they just don't fuck with that. They're like, yep, we're not doing that. Like, God bless America.
I see more stars and bars and Third Reich flags where I live than I see pride flags.
Yeah, well, where I am, sort of like in the middle of the city, there's like some. But see, the thing is, right, there are some things that hipsters actually do quite well, right? Like craft beer and expensive and retarded coffee. And I'm actually a fan of both of those things. When I
it's more moonshine and skunkweed out here.
Yeah, no. When I become dictator, we will have captive groups of hipsters who are press ganged to make craft beer and stupidly complicated coffee.
The boot on the neck says make good draft beer. All right. Yeah. Well, we are here to dunk on James Lindsay and Jordan Peterson. So why don't we get started with that?
Yes, let's do that. Okay, let's in Smolin.
Oh, I love this meme.
So Lindsay's still doing the thing, right? Like, he's on a mission. Well, he's paid to be on a mission. He hasn't stopped. And although the last show we did, we also covered Lindsay, it's just been going on. It's just been going on and on. He won't give up or really clarify his position in anything that does not involve, a leftist meme's worth of text. So I thought we would go over some of this sort of leftist meme kind of like stuff and try and once and for all, bros, define what really is the woke right. Are you part of it? Are you woke right adjacent? Do you know someone who might?
I assume this is the Dave Smith comedian that's on Rogan.
This number now. Sorry.
I assume this is the Dave Smith that's on Rogan. This comedian.
Yeah. This is Dave Smith.
He's pretty clever. I like him. He's good.
The powers that be are having a bit of a difficult time with Dave Smith actually because he's Jewish and he relentlessly criticizes Israel. So they can't. Douglas Murray was like, he has some Jewish ancestry. Apparently his mother and his father. Yeah,
no shit. Like, it's not like Dave's ever hid that fact. Like a lot of Jewish comedians, it comes up a lot.
So. Yeah. Well, I imagine he's not going to be invited to the the Zionist brunch in Washington D.C. anytime soon.
He has to sit outside like Rob Schneider and Adam.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, exactly. he has to sit in the bad Jews room. You know what I mean? The bad Jews table, right? Now. Dave Smith's been going on a lot about the dual loyalty trope, which of course, isn't a thing, except when it's a thing and except when the people basically like say it's a thing. Now, right, like, personally, if I am privileged enough to ever become an American citizen, I will be an American, right? Like first and foremost, it's the white and the right thing to do, rather than being, Israeli American, or I don't know, fucking English American, or whatever. That just seems to me like retarded. What else we got? Now, many people have pointed this out, that woke right is essentially a tool to divide the right in America. This is manifestly true, basically, right? It is a containment mechanism for the right to stop them from getting too spicy about the Jays, pretty much, right?
Well,
And making
no,
sure,
I
of
don't
course,
think it's that. I don't think it's to get too spicy about the Jays. I think that the people who push this are genuinely afraid that white people realizing that they have a real identity and a culture soul or a biospirit that is necessary for their survival and well-being. That's what they don't want us to realize. Because when we realize that, and people in power realize that, it's very, very bad for everything they believe in.
Right. But the way it is commonly framed is that if white people organize for any kind of collective self-interest, like no matter how weak it might be,
Oh, they're going to do a Hitler, right? Yeah.
right? You're going to do a mustache man, right? Like mustache man, like one day, right? You're like saying like, maybe we should, have some policies that, sort of broadly reflect the interests of like white as a group. The next day, literally the next day, you're marching on Paris, right?
You get the Hollywood Auschwitz.
Yeah, that's right. Right. Look, basically, it's the two big things is any kind of white racial solidarity. This is always being framed as like this as a reflection of the woke left, right? Like, so white people having any kind of regard for their self-interest is exactly like Black Lives Matter, right? Which is why all those white people went and burned down those like American cities. Oh wait, no, they fucking didn't.
Oh wait, no, we didn't.
Right?
Yeah.
Because
they're our cities and we don't want to burn them to the ground.
That's not really how whites roll, right? I mean, you've seen the meme, right? The 4 levels of white anger. It's like, hey, buddy, so what you're doing there. This is getting then the 4th level.
And the let me tell you something.
Yeah, let me tell you something. Let me tell you something. Exactly. Right.
Good old Cartman.
I think I don't know whether Lindsay posted this, but someone in his circle like posted it. I think it's pretty awesome. Right. So somebody sent me this. James Lindsay used to have a blog. Did you know the internet is forever? Did you know that archive.org exists? Right now, Lindsay has apparently done a sort of like quite long sort of reputation. A lot of people were basically pointing out that, he's not a Christian and therefore perhaps like he should shut up about like Christians. And, he loves to quote the Bible and all this kind of like other stuff, right? I mean, yeah, all the lines, but do you have Christ in your heart? Bro, right? Of course, from the point of view of someone like Peterson or Lindsay, right? Religion is just this series of principles that you just adopt, right? It's just a way of ordering society. There's nothing more to it than that, right? And the people who believe that there is something more to it than that are basically idiots, right? That's why they want a society that's based on Christian values, where like everyone else believes that stuff, right? But as an intellectual, they don't have to actually believe it. Now. Back in 2016, when Lindsay was still sort of very much in the new atheist era, right? He was writing this blog, an ideolog's handbook, an easy guide for hacks, zealots, and other nut jobs. Of course, everyone is a nut job except for James Lindsay, despite the fact that he's very much doing the kind of, for someone who rails so much about the friend-enemy distinction, I think I've said this before, he loves to friend-enemy distinction, right? Like he is all about that shit, right? Oren McIntyre apparently is now a paid agent of, not really sure. It's very weird, right? Like basically anyone who's BTFOing him on
we know Oren. We had breakfast with him. We sat and hung out with him. Like he's a very nice, down-to-earth, good person.
Yeah, well, that's exactly what he'd want you to think, isn't it? You know what I mean, right? He'd want you to think he's like a nice, Christian guy, like, and very easy to talk to and sort of a lovely person. But that's how they get you. That's how they get you. I, of course, the entire time I was talking to Oren, I was looking closely to find out who it is that's funding him. I just don't buy it, right? Having met him. Anyway, so these, according to Lindsay, are the tactics that hacks use. He would never use such tactics, bros. Only hacks would use these tactics. Lesson 1: escalate. When challenged or in doubt, say something even more ridiculous and call names. Oh, Lindsay would never do such a thing. Goodness, Lindsay, of course, holding himself high above the pig trough that is internet, argumentation. Lesson 2: bulldoze nuance. Nuance is distracting and often upsets your agenda. James would never do that. Lesson 3: cherry pick. If you're going to throw fruit at your enemies, only choose the rotten stuff. I mean, I think this is basically the mustache man posting, like, all the time.
Yeah.
Like, it is this very, very weird thing that supposedly before World War II, right? Whites never organized in their interests, like, at all, right? I mean, is it only whites organizing for their group interests that lead to Mustache Man, right?
Yeah.
If fascism is the natural end result, right, of any sort of ethnic group organizing, right, together, then why doesn't it lead to fascism when the blacks do it, right? Why doesn't it lead to fascism when the Indians do it? Why doesn't it lead to fascism when the Jews do it? Like, why is it only the whites that are susceptible to fascism?
Because of the... Well, we know why. Like, for those of you who followed our content, it's because of the specter of World War II propaganda being one of the key linchpins of white guilt in the anti-white narrative. That's why and how. Yeah,
well, obviously. Lesson 4: assassinate character. If you're going to make an ass of yourself, take your enemies with you. Well, I don't think Lindsay has managed to take his enemies with him, but he has certainly managed to make an ass of himself. You might say that his ass has woken up. Woke, right?
Oh no.
Oh no.
So he's part of the woke ass movement.
Lesson 5: never apologize. That's for lesser mortals who are obviously wrong and scum. Now, this is one of the things as well, right? Like, Lindsay famously not only does not debate his opponents anymore, he also famously, like, really never apologizes either. Lesson 6: the law of 1, 2, 3. Ask for 1, take 2, and demand 3. I feel like a bit of this is going on as well, right? You ask for sort of people to recognize that there are some bad actors on the right, as there are in any political movement. And then you take 2 and you say, oh, therefore this basically means that, the right, this part of the right is exactly like the left. And therefore you try and smear everyone with that same label. Lesson 7: divine right. God is always on your side, not theirs, even if you don't call it God or they. I think, I don't know. Maybe.
His Zio handlers are going to get after him if we post this for not hyphenating God.
Oh yes, that's right. Exactly. Goodness
we
me.
had a paid chat come in here.
Paid chat.
Yes. Jason Kuna, the No White Guilt guy, with us again tonight, like usual, sends us $10. That's $5 for each of us, and he says, "Arm up, News Fist, Folk Tithe, and Kip." Yes, sir. We're gonna get News Fist and his wife well armed when they move here.
Oh yeah. Fucking absolutely. Thank you very much, Jason. I appreciate it, mate. Let me see. Lesson 8: demonize. Your enemies aren't just wrong; they're malicious, evil, subhuman monsters. I think James has been doing a fair bit of this, actually. Like, so is Peterson. Bedeviled egg. My Peterson impression is terrible. Anonymous troll demons.
Deviled egg.
Bedeviled egg. Lesson 9: the inverse law of charity. Demand charitable interpretations of your views while assuming the worst in your opponents. He's doing this in spades, right? Lesson 10: rationalize. It is, after all, for the greater good. Again, he's doing this a lot. Lesson 11: run in packs. If lots of people agree with you loudly, then you can't be wrong. See,
he's struggling with that one.
Yeah, I don't know. He does seem to have a little coterie of sort of the ill-informed.
Yeah, but on Twitter he gets dogpiled all the time.
He does get dogpiled, right? But then he turns around and says, "Well, the only people who are dogpiling me by definition are woke right. So take that, woke rightists, right? Like if you oppose what I say, then by definition, right, you're woke right. Really, I mean, the logic is impenetrable, right? Like, Lesson 12, the law of hypocrisy. Everyone else is a hypocrite, so you can't be. Lesson 13, clean house. Only listen to people who already agree with you. Yeah, he's doing a lot of that. Lesson 14, outrage is your friend. Giving into it does not lead to the dark side if you're right and you know you are. I feel like someone should post this to James and be like,
I'll do it.
Maybe...
I'll do it. I'm already planning on it, so
nice.
I'm going to do this.
Lesson 15, persecution. Everybody loves a good martyr, so claim persecution and exaggerate liberally. Yes, like James claiming that he's been cancelled. As far as I'm aware, he still has a bank account. He still has a, he's not been banned on YouTube. Who the fuck be canceling that guy, right? It's just that thing. You're like, oh my God, I've been cancelled. You better watch my show, bros, right?
Mm-hmm.
Excommunication. Anyone who questions the eating of their own shit isn't loyal. Eject them. So, interesting turn of phrase. Lesson 17, shoehorn. Anything that can be pressed into service for your agenda. Anything can be pressed into service for your agenda if you try hard enough. I feel like there's a touch of that too.
Yeah.
Organize, call your agenda a movement, and brand non-participants as traitors. Don't think James has gone so far as to claim that they're traitors, but more Nazis, basically, right? The woke right is just a retooling of the whole, you're a mustache.
You're a Nazi, fascist, bigot.
You're a Nazi, you're a
all
fascist.
That stuff.
Like,
yeah.
No.
Just another in the anti-white slur bucket.
Lesson 19, Manichaean wisdom, the law of the excluded middle ground. You're all right, so they're all wrong and corrupt and evil. Again. Lesson 20, polarize. The ends of the spectrum are all they're in, and they're at the wrong end of it. And this is, I feel like James is doing this as well. Yeah. I mean, he is trying to appeal to people in the middle ground. The problem is that all the people in the middle ground are the ones who just want to keep doing exactly the same thing that has resulted in the situation that we find ourselves in, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And I have yet to hear James or his coterie sort of explain how that's going to change, right? Or like how you would roll back to the 90s, because I think a lot of them are stuck in the 90s. I can understand. I really like the 90s as well. Where I am at the moment in the US, it's very, very much like the 90s.
We might be biased because we like big titty goth chicks.
I do enjoy the Dracula biscuits. That is true.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Right. So, I mean, I get it. I just don't think that you can undo the process that is processing, right? And of course, I'm pretty sure that James and his coterie, they live in very nice areas, right? They don't have to live in like London or Memphis or some other like place where that has basically been completely erased and replaced. So, probably from their point of view, they're like, no, it's fine. No harsh measures of any kind are like needed. Everything's going to be fine. Lesson 21, use big words like racist, bigot, sexist, genocide, woke right, and terrorist. Make a big splash. Use them liberally, whether they fit or not. He has been leaning into this one a lot.
Really heavily. Yeah.
21, if in a pinch, get it intentionally wrong, do it big, blame the wrong thing, and call it journalism. Yell on social media and apply sock puppets as needed. Yes, James has been doing that thing where he claims that he's being opposed by sock puppets. Peterson is also big on this, because I don't think they can actually like believe that so many people oppose them, right? I mean, bots do exist and stuff like that, but I'm not sure like what organization do you suspect is paying to oppose Lindsay's woke right thing? Maybe the Chinese, or the I don't know, man. It just seems unlikely.
I could tell you that the ADL would do me for it.
Lesson 23, shout down. No one can prove you're wrong if you can't hear them. I think this was written in the days before the block button. And lesson 24, the law of bullshit. It requires an order of magnitude or two more effort to correct bullshit than it does to say it. Take full advantage of this fact. So, this is when
at least half of these he's very guilty of.
I think that these rules are basically sort of fundamental things about populism and discourse, right? Now, I would say that this is the problem with the way James is framing things, right? The way he's framing the woke right discussion is that if a Marxist had written these down, right? And some of these were true, right? And actually true and effective ways to do a thing. Anyone using those techniques is automatically just like the left, therefore woke right. Okay, so anyone on the right who wants to talk about like class, for example, or racial differences or racial interest or anything like that, right, that has been ever even used once by someone on the left, right? Because theory of class predates Marx. It's sort of more an elite theory thing, right?
Yeah.
Like it goes back to Machiavelli. In fact, I believe someone asked James whether he thought Machiavelli was woke right, and he said like maybe, but I can't tell whether he's being serious or whether he's just like trolling. He goes through these phases where he just like sort of starts trolling people, right? So this is the current identification list of the woke right. You ready, bros? Yep. Trad females, anyone who identifies as unjustly alienated cultural elites, Maoist tactics, men's rights, the new atheism movement, politically Christian, gay, hostile, straight, patriarchal male, anyone who has white racial consciousness, anyone who is just as woke as the woke left, anyone who hates the 90s, anyone who's an internationalist nationalist, anyone unhuman, Viva Fry, Homath, Russell Brand, Matt Walsh, The Quartering, Tucker Carlson, of course. I don't.
Wait! Stop! Jeremy of the Quartering? He's one of the most milquetoast fence-sitting guys in the world.
Well, he opposed Lindsay's woke right framing. So therefore, if you oppose the framing,
if you know anything about Jeremy of the Quartering, like he only uses all this to make millions of dollars. Like he was open about that years ago.
Man,
I used to listen to him in the long ago, like before he blew up and got big. And he always said, man, if my channel ever takes off, I'm going to hook all this political left versus right shit up to a machine and just plow money. And by God, he's doing it.
Yeah, man. So, like you got to respect Jeremy's hustle, man. Like his game is tight, man.
Yeah, him and his wife and his dogs have a lot of money now.
So Candace Owens is woke right because of her opinions on Israel. Obviously, Nick Fuentes, obviously, same thing. Sargon is woke right because he's, I don't know. I just don't understand how the fuck you can call Sargon woke right. The Hodge twins.
Well, because he doesn't want to see England destroyed. That's why.
Yeah. Anyone that wants to cancel conservative communism is Jewish. Uses like this is such an incredibly long list, right?
Is this a post by James Lindsay?
No. This is, who's this by? This is someone replying to one of his woke right posts where he's basically talking about how woke right is the new atheism movement of MAGA. Now, I did actually listen to about an hour and a half of this whilst drunk wandering around Tennessee, which was pretty funny. And Lindsay actually sort of opened up a bit about his past on this, which I thought was refreshing, right?
Oh, do go on.
He basically said that the reason why he became an atheist was because of Pat Robertson, right? The TV preacher, right? And because of George W. Bush, right? And up until that point, right, like, you know, he was hanging out with some Christians, but he was also like looking into Buddhism. He was doing that classic white thing where you're like, oh, let's go shopping at Religion Mart. Which religion do I choose, right? And just for the record, the correct way to find or pick a religion is to follow your heart, right? Yep. You listen to what your heart tells you. You don't like intellectualize and be like, oh, today we are going to go shopping for religion. You must follow your heart, right? The faith resides in your heart. It does not reside in your brain. In fact, reason is often the enemy of faith, right? Because you try and understand things that cannot be understood, and you can come up a cropper, right? A lot of people do when it comes to religion. They're like, oh, how many angels can dance on the head of a pin? It doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter, right? Like, you know, I thought this meme was
this is a good one.
There have been some pretty good Lindsay memes floating around, I gotta say. Now, I got into a conversation with some people, and I was trying to explain Voegelin and Gnosticism. This is rhetorically defective. He's got a really good YouTube channel where he does like videos on Lindsay and stuff. Is just really snarky Bostonite. I really enjoy his stuff, so I would check it out. So Lindsay and his crew have become inordinately obsessed with Voegelin, the author, Eric Voegelin, and now they see Gnosticism everywhere. Since they are not Christians, they are unable to differentiate Gnosticism from Christianity, and especially do not wish to examine the significant overlap between Judaism and Gnosticism, of which there is quite a bit.
We actually have an Empire of Lies on that.
Yes. They have become unable to differentiate between the Gnostic position, which is we must overthrow reality, from the right-wing position, we must give some consideration to the interest of whites as a group, or collective stuff more broadly, right? Because the problem with too much individualism is it just becomes unable to do anything. This is the end stage of what's like if you give
the no white guilt guy with us in chat, he's been going on about that on his channel for years, how we're so many generations into hyper individualism that, and not even counting all the anti-white mind cancer that we're flooded with, even if it was just the hyper individualism, you can't, like, that doesn't carry forward the culture soul, the biospirit. Everything's too fractured and atomized to have any strength or to carry forward anything together.
Yeah. But not only that, there are certain questions that must be considered from the perspective of a society, right? Like, I hate to say it, right? Like, I like to be an individual, right? Everyone likes to be an individual. It's the tragedy of the commons writ large, right? In case anyone's not aware, the tragedy of the commons is this idea. When back in England, way back in the day, they had what was known as common land. It was basically owned by everyone, right?
Yeah.
So people would bring their cows to graze on the common. Okay. Now, because it didn't belong to anyone, the incentive was for every person to bring as many cows as they could to get like as many milk, and eventually the common would collapse and all the grass would get eaten, because what was the best for every individual was not good for society as a whole, right? Now, governments are very, very good at like making this argument when it comes to, oh, you have to pay taxes, or oh, you have to take the vaccine, or oh, you have to eat the bugs and live in the pod, right? But they're very, very bad at making this argument when it comes down to any kind of collective identity that is not sort of, civic nationalism, or like, if you try and make this argument for, I don't know, white birth rates, for example, right? Like you're not going to get
or for maintaining high percentage Christian community.
Correct. Right. So thought I'd give you just a little bit of a sort of thing on Voegelin. He wrote a book called...
Make sure to leave time for Duncan on Peterson. I want to get to that. I have some things for that.
I will. Right. So Voegelin argued that Gnosticism profoundly influences modern political ideologies, particularly the modern left, right? Now, I think Voegelin was onto something about here, because the modern left, and the left generally speaking, try and overthrow reality, right? Ignore fundamental parts of human nature like sex, ethnicity, self-interest, commerce, all these kinds of like things that make society run, right? But the right does not tend to do that. Like on the opposite, right? The right actually tends to really dig into these ideas, right? He viewed Gnosticism as a mindset seeking salvation through esoteric knowledge, or gnosis, to transcend the perceived imperfections of the world. Right. Now, Lindsay bangs on about this all the time, right? So the way he basically frames it is that whites realizing that there is systemic discrimination, right, is secret knowledge. It's not secret knowledge. You can just like look it up, right? Like this is the secret knowledge to find.
You don't even have to look it up. You just have to notice what's happening.
Yeah. But what I'm saying is there are actually laws on the books, right? It's not like the way the blacks did, that were like, well, okay, yes, there might be all these laws on the books that say we get all this special treatment, but actually secretly, right, there is systemic white supremacy, right? That's the Gnostic view, that like, even though everything appears in the law books to be a way, there is a secret deeper layer. Again, the right wing are not like this, right? The right wing are like, yeah, we're being discriminated against because there's actual laws on the books that discriminate against us, right? There's no secret knowledge required, right?
And not just laws. Like, many of us have been told in job interviews, or when we already had jobs, you're being let go because of diversity quotas. You're being let go because we have to hire Shaniqua. Like, many people have experienced that, especially older white men who've been in their jobs for 15, 20 years, being replaced by these young diversity hire idiots. Like, we know the sting of it. We see it. It's happened to us. And you know what? It's not illegal. and it's not against corporate policy because both the law and corporate policy enforces it. It says it specifically.
Yes. Okay. So this is the difference, right? The left, or the Gnostics, they claim there is like this secret knowledge, right? And this secret knowledge is only discernible to the initiate. Okay, right. So you've got to have a certain way of thinking to notice this thing that most people can't notice, right? This really isn't true on the right. You can just look it up, right? Like you can just it doesn't require like secret occult knowledge, right? To realize, for example, that America's foreign policy is very much influenced by Israel. You could just pick up a book by John Mearsheimer, right? Or like look at the news. It's not. So this is a fundamental difference, right? And Lindsay misses this entirely. He seems
or
to
listen
believe
or listen to any GOP shill the way they talk. Like,
yeah, he seems to believe there's some like I think he believes that the red pill, right, is the secret knowledge, right? But if that were the case, then you'd have to like study for 10 years this secret language and all this kind of other stuff in order to understand what are actually like quite obvious things about reality, right? Like it's not really a secret. Right. So Voegelin saw Gnosticism as characterized by a rejection of the world as fundamentally evil or flawed. That's also kind of Christianity, though, in a way, right? But the Gnostics were much more of the idea that Satan, in fact, runs the world, right? It's a whole thing. Coupled with the belief that human beings can achieve salvation or perfection through special knowledge or revolutionary action to transform reality. So this is where it diverges from Christianity, right? Because under Christianity, the way you achieve salvation, right, is to follow Christ, right, and try and be a better person, right? There's no perfecting of the human while you're alive. It can't be done, right? There was only one perfect dude, Jesus. You haven't got a hope, right? There is no perfecting of humanity under Christianity. Excuse me.
Because being Christian means striving to be Christ-like, knowing that we are flawed and knowing that we are sinners. But
correct,
we act in a Christ-like way and pursue a better way of being, and that's what being a Christian is.
Yeah, but you don't have to be psycho about it, right? Like you're never going to remake. There's no new Christian man, right? Like there is like a new Soviet man. You're never going to wake up tomorrow, right? And like everybody on earth is suddenly like Jesus. No.
Evil author. Gnosticism is just gay devil worship.
Unironically,
yes.
That's absolutely true. So they reject the existing order. Marxism, socialism, progressivism, they all exhibit Gnostic traits. Reject the existing order, pursue utopian salvation. Again, it's not Christianity, right? The only utopia in Christianity is heaven, and you only get to that after you're dead, right? There is no utopia on earth.
That's a Jewish thing.
Immanentizing the eschaton. This is a very Jewish idea, trying to bring about the apocalypse. Again, not Christianity. And dogmatic certainty, possessing a privileged understanding of the history or society, mirroring the Gnostic claim to exclusive knowledge. And I think there's a bit of that in Christianity, to be fair, right? Like once you've found Christ.
I think there's a bit of that in all major enforced religions, and I don't mean like enforced over the barrel of the tank. In some cases, perhaps, but like all serious religions that say we are the only ones who are correct, and this is why you should live this way. I think that that's not just about the left. That's about pretty much every major religion: Islam, Judaism, Christianity, even some sects of Hindus are like that.
Yep. Okay, so I will give Voegelin that point can be applied to the right, but technically it could be applied to
anything,
almost anything, really, right?
Anything that will take and maintain power.
Yes. Yeah. Voegelin believes that this Gnostic impulse leads to totalitarianism, as the drive to impose a perfect order justifies extreme measures, suppressing dissent and ignoring human limitations. I agree, and it's again not Christianity, right? Christianity is inherently about the recognition of human limitations.
Let me talk here for a minute, because I've read a lot about elite theory, and this just speaks to human nature. Like this is not left or right. This is not atheist or Christian. This is not Jewish or Hindu. This is not Asian or African or European. This just speaks to the state of man and the way that we are. When people want to maintain order and create and enshrine what they think is the right and good way to live, their systems of governance, their civics, business, religion. You have to do some of this. Now, the scale varies, but to have civilization, you have to maintain, enforce, have propaganda, push people that are against you out, punish people who are dissidents within. This is just how all society works everywhere through all of time for every race. I don't think that this is particularly one thing or another. This is just talking about human nature and how societies function.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I agree. So if any of you want to get into Voegelin, the New Science of Politics or Science, Politics, and Gnosticisms are the books to do. Or you can just go to Grok and ask for a summary, like I did, because I'm traveling, right? Now, this is the kind of explanation that you are getting from Lindsay's coterie about like the work right. Many pages, right? I'll sum it up basically.
Oh my God, this is long.
Yeah, it's critical constructivism, this idea that reality is subjective. I actually don't know many people on the right who believe that reality is subjective at all. I think that's
I don't think I've talked to a single person that I consider to be, quote, one of us who believes that.
Now, the other thing that gets a lot of shtick is Schmidt, this idea of the friend enemy distinction, right?
Mhm.
Supposedly that is a constructivist view. I don't think that's true at all, right? I think Schmidt is bang on the money, right?
Again, like I said a few minutes ago, 100% the same for friend enemy distinction. That is all power groups, all religious groups, every government, every dictator, every emperor, every king. This is just how power functions. Schmidt was talking about the friend enemy distinction just as a way to codify how power works and how you take and hold power. That's it.
Yes.
Like it has nothing to do with belief or race or any of that. He's just talking about human nature and how power works. And I completely agree. And I think he's bang on the money about that.
Yeah. And so basically it's trying to suck this idea into the idea that, DEI want to induce both black and white people in the worldview that reality is constructed around the power dynamics of racial and ethnic conflict. I don't think ethnic conflict is really so much about power dynamics. It's just about different groups of people that want different stuff, right?
I mean,
like
it's if you want to call that a power dynamic, that does make sense if you're not talking about it in an anti-white bullshit way. Like every civilizational group is a competitor, and we are creatures of Earth. We live in an ecology. We fight for resources, dominance of territory. We want to make sure that the things over the next hill are not going to threaten our children or our holdings. Like, again, this is just human nature. This is just how people are.
I mean, the thing that gets me about this is, right, like, let's just take something like language, okay? If you have a country, right, a government department, right, the government must perforce speak one language, right, in order to get along with itself, okay? Which language is going to be spoken, right? Is that power dynamics, right? Or is that just like, one kind of like way of communicating has to be dominant in order for it to function, right? If another group comes along and is like, we're going to like mess up your communication systems, you now have to speak 5 languages. Is that really power dynamics, or is that just
yes, but in my opinion,
different things?
In my opinion, that is just nature. That's just nature. Like even creatures like wolves and lions do it. Like you have to behave this way or we're going to chase you and bite you. That's why dolphins rape shame the ones that don't fit in and make them go away.
Like, dolphins are woke right confirmed. You've heard it here first, ladies and gentlemen. The woke right dolphins. Right. So, I mean, and again, all wokeness is based on secret knowledge about oppressor and oppressed classes. This is just code word for the Jays, right? And the sort of like, and the sort of the mafia that has grown up around them. I mean, you could apply it to sort of like other groups, but fundamentally, this is what they're talking about. They believe that sort of being concerned about the amount of sort of Jewish or Zionist power in countries like the US, and being concerned with the fact that they seem to have undeclared goals is a secret knowledge. It's not a secret knowledge. You don't have to like join the fucking Freemasons to find this out, right? Like it's very, very easily discernible, right?
And also, it's only a fringe element of us who like you said, there's Jews in my shoes people, right? Like that, they're a very small, not very vocal element.
Yeah.
Most of us, when we talk about the oppressors, we're talking about evil, greedy, shitbag white people. We're talking about all of the anti-whites, white people that fuck everything up and are in our governments and our media and it's not the Jews are everywhere, man. The Jews are like most of us don't think about that. Most of us just know there are evil people who are absolute greedy, selfish shitbags who'll do whatever for money and who are shills to Israel or India or China or the military-industrial complex or whatever the fuck. That's who oppresses us. It's the anti-whites and the anti-white narrative, whether they're Jewish or not. That's what we're talking about.
If it was the Italians, I'd be equally concerned, right? Like, you know, it's just, you know, you shouldn't be ruled by a group of people who have fundamentally different desires and goals from the population that they're ruling over.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? This is basic elite theory. It creates conflict, right? Because the goals of the ruling elite fundamentally clash with those of the people that are being ruled over. And although this is going to be true on some level, like always, you want to have like as close as possible sort of what's the word I'm looking for? Like coherence between like your ruling elites, your ruling class, right? If you work right confirmed. I just used a word that Marx used. Oh no, right? I really
want to get to Peterson. We only got 15 minutes left.
Okay, right. Well, let's get to Peterson then. Okay, we'll skip the Dave Smith thing. Oh, and this is
no. Let's do the Dave thing. I like Dave.
Okay, right.
Let's have some Dave.
Before we do, I just want to point out this, right? I
saw this.
Right? Has James converted to Judaism?
Maybe.
Or is he just? I mean, like, did he just copy paste this? Because the G-D thing is Jewish, because the Jews can't pronounce the name of God. Indeed, in Hebrew, the name of God is Hashem, which literally just means the name. There's like all this weird Kabbalistic stuff about the names of God and how powerful they are, and you should like, it's basically like very sort of Cthulhu mythos. The God is basically
that's what the Talmud is.
Name. Like the unpronounceable name. It sounds very Lovecraftian, right?
The Talmud is like mythos sorcerer journals.
Imagine being a Christian and being against Israel. That's literally like being against faith, bro. We can shut the fuck up.
That's fucking stupid what he just said. That is a stupid statement.
I know so many Christians who would just be like, dude, that is like just I know tons of Catholics.
Tell me you know nothing about Christianity without telling me you know nothing about Christianity.
Well, I mean, he's read the Bible a lot. You know, I mean, it doesn't. And finally, we get on to the Jordan Peterson crash out, the crash out of all crash outs.
Are we ready?
Peterson went on Surrounded. It was billed as 20 atheists versus 1 Christian. And I don't know whether Peterson knew this, but basically he got confronted by what are supposed to be a bunch of atheists, but it also looks like a few Christians actually smuggled themselves in and like, oh yeah, I'm totally an atheist, bro. Like, let me talk to Peterson. And he just got the Zoomers BTFO'd him. And I think what's basically happened is, imagine you're a Zoomer and you've grown up on YouTube your entire life, right? Like when you were like 8 years old, you were watching like Sargon debate, you know, whatever. And now these kids are all like 20 something. And the results are
and they're taking people like this to the cleaners.
Yeah. So play it. Yes, play it.
All right, here we go. I've been waiting for this. Where is it? Damn it. I had the view right a minute ago. Embiggen. All right, there we go. Here we go. Enjoy.
Hello there. I'm Dr. Jordan Peterson.
Holy night, the star.
Sure. So do you believe in the all-knowing, all-powerful, all-good notion of God?
What do you mean by believe?
Do you think it to be true?
That's the circular definition. What do you mean when you say you believe?
How is that circular?
Because you added no content to the answer by substituting the word true and believe.
I said you think it to be true.
All right. So that's the circular definition. That's the circular definition. Why are you asking me that?
Because you're a Christian.
You say that. I haven't claimed that.
Oh, what is this? Is this Christians versus atheists?
I don't know.
You don't know where you are right now.
Don't be a smartass.
Well,
and I mean
either
it,
you're a
'cause I
Christian
won't
or you're
talk
not.
to you if you're a smartass.
Oh, either you're a Christian or you're not. Which one is it?
I could be either of them, but I don't have to tell
could be.
you.
You don't have to tell me. I was
No,
under the
it's
impression I
private.
was invited to talk to a Christian. Am I not talking to a Christian?
No, you were invited to.
I think everyone should look at the title of the YouTube channel. You're probably in the wrong YouTube video,
You're really quite something. You are.
aren't I? But you're really quite nothing, right? You're not a
Okay,
Christian.
I'm done with him.
Oh, look who just got cucked by God.
Conduct yourself in a manner that makes such things much more unlikely.
I
You
totally
know,
agree.
we're all saddled with the problem of the catastrophes that got us here, aren't we?
Yeah, but
and-
this
and-
one was commanded by God. That's the problem.
Yeah,
That's
well-
what differentiates it from anything else, is that this one, it's God
Do you
saying,
think that
go
there's
and do
ever
this
such a thing?
atrocity.
Do you think that there's ever such a thing as a righteous war?
I'm skeptical. I'm not sure. It would probably be situational.
Well, right, fair
Yeah,
enough.
but
I
this
mean,
one
people,
certainly wasn't a just war. The context for the Amalekite slaughter is that 400 years earlier, they fought one battle, which they lost, and God says, that's it, I'm going to wipe them off the face of the goddamn earth. And then 400 years later, he commands the Israelites to genocide their great-great-great-great-great-great-grandchildren. That's not a just war at all. And also, a genocide is not a war.
well, a genocide can be a war, but
Absolutely not.
Yep.
The genociding of the Amalekites, the men, the women, and the infants, that's not a war. The infants aren't combatants.
well, a genocide can be
Now, that video was actually done by the Surfs, which is like a really left-wing channel, and I don't.
But
I
no,
don't
it's
support them,
still
but
funny,
it's
though.
Funny as hell, right?
Yeah.
Like, I mean,
like obviously this video was put together by atheists, but that's not what you should take from it. You should take from it what how much Jordan Peterson has beclowned himself. Because
and might I also add, one of the reasons why Jordan continues to beclown himself is because of Judeo-Christianity, right? Like
Yes.
if you take like the Old Testament and the New Testament and you try and smash them together, right,
doesn't
and
work.
basically operate on the principle that the ethics in the Old Testament are the same as the ones in the New Testament, of course you're going to come up a cropper. In the
Yeah.
same way that if you try and smash Judaism and Christianity together, they're very, very incompatible. And Jordan has spent a lot of time, studying the Old Testament, which is, if you've ever read it, is much, much more brutal and sort of, angry God, as opposed to the New Testament, which is much more loving God. I mean,
and Jesus
God
brought
change
us
his
a
mind?
new covenant. That's why.
yeah, exactly, right? So God changed his mind, it seems, right? Like, what, you assume that God can't change his mind? Like, who are you, right? You're just
Right.
some guy, right? You're going to tell God that he can't like change his mind. I mean, yeah. So Peterson
And then
has,
atheists always like to say, well, then how do you know what you believe is true? And it's like, well, because like you said earlier, faith is in the heart. You know what you believe. You know what your people believe. You know how you were raised. You believe in these things. And then they start saying, well, how do you know this? How do you know this? I don't. It's a mystery. I just believe.
yeah. And they don't like that. They don't like
No.
that at all.
Mm-mm.
Right? They're like, but what about my reason? It's like, just look, go back to your fucking fedora and try and like bang that like chick who thinks you're like a doofus, right? Like, it's just,
And yeah, this is also a good point. The Jews of
Yes.
today are not the ancient Hebrews. They are
Correct.
an entirely different animal with an entirely different series of books and speeches and codes that they follow. And especially the Talmudic Looney Tunes that are like all for war and behind the war machine. Those people are nothing like Christians at all. They're somewhat like ancient Hebrews because they base a lot of their war and conquest by God shit on the Old Testament. But it's an entirely different animal than it was 2,000 years ago. Emperor Hadrian saw to that.
yeah.
but
Well,
anyway.
one of the problems is that the New Testament does not really deal with war as a
Yeah.
subject, right? So
Yeah.
whenever Christian societies like get into these kinds of like troubles where they have to have a war of some kind, right? They always go back to the Old Testament, right? I guess, sort of like fair enough. So Peterson has now beclowned himself even more, right? It's freaking crazy. Like how, I mean, if you guys remember the Kathy Newman interview that he
Yes.
did, right?
Yes.
He was much more relaxed back then.
Yeah.
He has become very
Neurotic.
brutal and sort of neurotic, and just
Yep.
like you can't imagine him just sitting back and being like, well, I don't know, like fucking I mean, granted that that format is highly adversarial, but if you saw the thing that he did with Lindsay, we covered it on the last show.
Yeah. I couldn't watch much of that. It made me sick.
I think he's really look. You need a certain amount of humility that there's stuff you don't understand. You know what I mean,
And
right? And I think Peterson is, I don't know. People have told
before
him.
we run out of time, I wanted
Yeah.
to bust on Peterson because
Oh,
I don't know how many of you people knew who he was 10 years ago. I did. I like him. I used to like him, I should say. I listened to his really long Bible and breaking down logos videos. This man was a different man 15 years ago. I don't know what's happened to him, but like we've talked about previously on maybe not this stream exactly, but on my channel with Chris before, I have talked to you guys about how people from like Jacinda Ardern from New Zealand, the collection of meme pictures we see of the like 30 health ministers from around the world who just look sick, like cancer patients or undead. You look at all these rotten politicians that are NGO shills or war machine shills. They all look sick. There's some, they have a sickness that there isn't medicine for. They have an illness that a doctor can't diagnose. And I think it's what Peterson has now. It's when they're confronted and dig themselves in to this, we have to be against reality and change reality stuff. I think it's the same spiritual, metaphysical sickness that changes them and breaks them apart. Like, I don't know if any of you have known any people who are into like occultism or trying to talk to demons and stuff, but those people have the same kind of sick look to them. And I see this in the face of politicians, public speakers that are on the side of the anti-white global homo crowd. These people are rotten. And I see it in the face of James Lindsay too. You can tell there's something wrong when you look in his eyes. You can see it. And I didn't see that in Peterson 10 years ago. I didn't see it in him from his videos before I knew him when I went back and watched. I think that whatever this sickness is, I don't know if it has to do with things we don't know about, like maybe there's rituals or they feed them drugs or it's something in the injections they made them all take. I don't know. But if it could just be mental and spiritual, there's something about a man like Peterson who is smart, well-read, intelligent in a lot of fields, and who actually has some measure of moral character to him, or at least used to. When he digs himself in to defending things that are so against reality, it beggars belief. I think that something about them metaphysically snaps.
yeah.
And it lets darkness come into them.
It could just be that Zionism has so many inherent contradictions to it. You know,
I mean, and again, I'm not here. Yeah, I'm not here to J-Spurg, but I do think that a large element of this Judaic infiltration into Christianity, the Zionist connection with our governments, I think that is opening ourselves to spiritual warfare that we weren't previously open to. And I think that we can see that in the faces of people who are affected the most by it. And that's the people who are at the forefront of this, who dig themselves in without any spiritual protection, and they become like this. And and again, I think it's funny to dunk on Peterson because he is a meme now. He's a fucking log cow. Just look at the idiot.
Well,
like,
I mean, look, he would
clowns himself all the
on
time
you
now.
relentlessly, yes, right? It's not like he would give any quarter if
he wouldn't. No, but
right?
But my point
all
is,
us all bedeviled eggs and anonymous troll demons and narcissists and cluster B personality types and all this kind of like other shit. So
like this is the thing though. Like if he confronted me with all that and called me those names and said that stuff to me, I would say, "You are the one who taught me about logos, Jordan. I learned about Jungian ideas from you, Jordan. Why have you forgotten those? Why have you forgotten why that stuff is important?" That's what I would say to him and just see how he reacted. I don't know if that would touch a nerve. Maybe he would start crying and take a Xanax. I don't know.
Maybe.
But
do we have any more super chats? Should we?
I shall look because we are at the hour.
Okay, let us embiggen again. Shall we?
Shall embiggen. Okay. I hope you guys enjoyed the show. Nothing new on Cash App. Let's go over. Oh, we do have something on Entropy, which I will get to in a moment. Let's refresh the other places. See if we have anything to speak of. Okay, nothing is showing up as tips on Subscribestar. Nothing showing up on PayPal. So it's just old Paulie B. Good to see you again, Paulie B. I had fun meeting you at the old meetup. He sends us $10 and he says, "White monsters on the house. Hope you two have all the viewers and have a great 2025 before a civilizational winter." Well, thank you very much, Paul.
Thank you. I have actually discovered White Monster since I have been in America. It's pretty awesome. European mind cannot comprehend.
Now, there's even a better white monster that I will introduce you to.
Nice.
And it is a white rock star. And
White rock
I
star.
think those are even better than White Monster, and they're half the price. So I will
Oh,
get
there
you
you
one of
go.
those. I'll
There you
get you
go.
one of those when you come to Tennessee, and
Awesome.
we'll
Awesome.
have some battery acid poison together. It'll be a good time. So, all right. There are no other paid chats, so thank you guys for being here. This was a low effort, fun stream. We're both on vacation still, but we just wanted to stream anyway because
Yep.
we miss you guys. You know, we miss our stream slot, and we hope you all have a wonderful weekend. And you know, just keep heart and speak the truth to people who can hear it, and do everything that you can to build a better tomorrow for the people around you. That's what we all should be doing. So, good night and God bless everybody.
Yeah, good night, everyone. I'll try and get like a script together for some like actual proper content.
We'll be back
for
in a couple
now-
weeks. It'll be fine.
For now, we will just be shit posting to you all. Thank you so much for coming, everyone. I appreciate it.
Yeah. Have a good night, everybody. We'll see you Monday. Good night.
Bye.